Hello friends, welcome to this journey of innovations in marketing and marketing of innovations. Today I would be taking you towards the aspects which are related to how an innovator feels. We have been talking about innovators' perspective, last time we talked about that, and we tried to establish a case around the assessment of need in relation to innovations in marketing. But you see, there are many aspects through which an innovator goes through. Last time we also discussed about what can be a model or how to go about innovation, which we will be talking about in a structured manner in due course of time. But most important is, let us think in terms of that how, what is the state of mind of an innovator at this moment? Is there any dilemma which innovator faces? And what is that dilemma all about? How it can be overcome by, as far as innovator himself or herself, and are there any stages to that? Is there any structure to that? Can we identify that? Those kind of things. I will be taking you through this aspect with pertinent clues and some of the examples from different kinds of an industries, and I would be suggesting, again with references of course, to put up a perspective and watch around you and look at the products and services and imagine that what innovators would have gone through in bringing those products and services to you, and what kind of dilemma an innovator would have had in terms of marketing while innovating upon the marketing process as such. So, this is a composite kind of a thought process which encompasses innovations in marketing as well as marketing of innovations, but we are talking about an innovator's dilemma here. So, let us start with what innovator's dilemma means. What for? For example, an innovator is putting up a product or a service, the first question is what for, and that is where the story starts. So, what am I doing? What for should I be introducing this kind of a marketing procedure? What for I should be taking this product to the customer? So, innovations in marketing and marketing of innovations, both sides. So, here comes the element of reasons associated with, as far as any innovative step in marketing or marketing of innovation. Now, when you talk about reasons, you would realize that either we have conviction, whatever we are trying to do in terms of any innovative step in marketing, we can think in terms of having faith and conviction about ourselves that this is going to work, and then let us go ahead. In many of the cases, we have realized that innovators do steer their way towards success, towards acceptance and acceptability of the products and services in terms of their offering, or even if they are going for one particular kind of a step within the marketing process, or let us say several steps within the marketing process, they do it right or it happens to be right, but conviction is the most important element, belief, strength of belief. And then second element can be a very strong marketing research, which is so conclusive in nature that somehow it gives you the clues which makes everything right. I will be coming back to you with aspects of these two elements, and then some pertinent examples can be discussed around these. So, marketing research can have a context of reflexivity, intrinsic element wherein you become the center of the research and then you reflect upon the subject as well as the respondent and the respondent reflects upon the subject as well as you. So, reflexive approach is a very established procedure, and I have been talking about this briefly here and there all through. And then once you have identified a problem and you have reached to the core through reflexive perspective, reflexive approach, then you can take a call. And if you want to further dwell upon this, then you can go for descriptive research as well. You can look at whole of this as problem identification and solution finding as well. So, on one hand you try to identify the right problem and look at it with the perspective of solution finding later on. That can also be done. And we have been talking about famous examples like introducing multi-blade shavers. Many times in this common example of multi-blade shavers, could they make it right through conviction? They tried that with conviction, it somehow did not work. Why it could not work? And then this contains both the elements of innovations in marketing and marketing of innovations. Somehow they tried many innovative things including the product. You see, 6 blade shaver is definitely an advanced sort of a product. So, they tried hard for that, and on the other side they sort of dwelled upon several procedures to bring that product to the market as well as pricing combinations and so on. So, whole of the process they tried hard, but conviction somehow did not work. They must have gone for marketing research, and I presume that all intelligent marketers, they know all of this, but we are not here to criticize what they should have done or what they could not do. Here we are trying to understand that somehow we can make things right if we look at these things in a composite kind of a fashion. I would be coming to all of this in a systematic manner, more systematic manner, when we would be talking about what steps should we be taking in terms of innovation marketing and marketing of innovations in due course of time. But here we are wondering about innovator's dilemma. So, let us focus upon that. So, one is conviction and the other is marketing research. Both of these elements can be thought of in terms of answer to what for. And once we try to think about this, then the next question is how? How to innovate with this kind of within this kind of an industry, with this kind of a service as far as the marketing procedure goes, or how to market the innovation as such if I have something in my hand. But this I will answer in my next session when I will be talking about go to market strategy. More intensely we would be talking about this perspective, and I will reflect upon this. Till then, just keep this question in mind, how. Now, the next element which comes to an innovator is, as far as the whole story goes, and we are talking of innovator's dilemma, is that why would people come along? Why would they accept whatever am I trying to introduce, or why would they accept the product at all? So, why would people come along? You see, first question was what for. So, that is from my side, that what am I doing this, why am I doing this. On the other side, this question is from that side, why would people come along, why would they accept. So, if I find reason for whatever I am doing, but then I should find reason for why would people come along. So, this again is a very important element and is a cause for innovator's dilemma. Now, the next element which comes in is what is marketable and what is not. Many times you have a product or a service, many times you are thinking in terms of a product or a service, and somehow while you are thinking about a product or a service, then you definitely think in terms of market beforehand. So, the aspect is what is marketable and what is not. Many times, and especially in case of startups or new entrepreneurs, or people even who have a lot of experience in a particular kind of an industry and going for entrepreneurship, this is a very pertinent question: what is marketable and what is not? And in many cases, if you are not doing something very new, you are opening up a restaurant with a very limited kind of a menu, then also you have this in mind, that what is marketable and what is not. This question may reflect upon let us say target market, and many times people talk about segmentation, which is thinning as far as the whole structure goes as of now, and I have talked about this a lot in my preceding sections, as well as in different subjects which I have delivered: integrated marketing, communication, product and brand management, and innovation business models, all three. So because to me, and to a lot many marketers and academicians as of now, segmentation is thinning. So we and I talked to you last time about this, that which segment do you belong to. So that definitely is a very tough question nowadays, and that is why we are focusing upon targeting people rather than segmenting whole lot of a market. Although many conventional marketing experts, they talk about that segmentation, you can't do without segmentation, but these are evolving things. People do have discussions on this kind of a thing. If you will look at particular kind of an industry, you would realize that in many industries, segmentation has vanished, might be an overstatement, but diluted definitely, and so on. So what is marketable and what is not? And then again, it's a half sort of a question. Product is good, the product I have is good, but these kind of aspects in terms of as far as dilemma comes to a marketer. And when I wonder about this kind of a situation, the most important element comes to my mind is that what people would be thinking in due course of time when they are facing such kind of dilemma. Before I go ahead, these are some of the references which are very important. Christensen in 2013 wrote this book, The Innovator's Dilemma, When New Technologies Cause Great Firms to Fail. This was published by Harvard Business Review Press, and then O'Reilly and Tushman, they published this Lead and Disrupt, How to Solve the Innovator's Dilemma, Stanford Business Books. You see, whole of this world started thinking in terms of innovator's dilemma, especially with the perspective of disruptive technologies and newer technologies. These are very interesting books, and there are several papers on that, but do try to look into these. Now, as we are going ahead with this kind of a thought, the most important question which comes to my mind is how to cater to this dilemma. What should be done about this? Is there any way out? Is there any methodology as far as the whole situation goes? Should every innovator go for a structured marketing training, or should a marketer go for a continuous innovation kind of training or courses, so that both of the worlds can be seen together? Well, this is a very thoughtful and recommended idea, and I welcome all the innovators to join my marketing courses and all the marketers to join my innovation courses. That is a wonderful selling point in this. But again, the point is, we are talking of acumen. Even if you do courses, then you have to develop that kind of an acumen. If that kind of a 2-in-1 situation can be brought in, then it is perfectly all right. But until that point, what can be done? There are two things which are very important here, and we must remember these things. I will give you a short story on this before going ahead. I was visiting a professor during my study days when I was studying abroad, and the professor was the guide of one of my friends. We were doing master's thesis, and my friend was doing his master's thesis with the professor I am talking about. And out of discussion, this professor asked me Now, I was in a different university, so he asked me that you are also working on a thesis, master's thesis, sir. I am working on a thesis, and then what you are trying to do? Well, I am trying to work on a market development thesis and a sort of a feasibility study as well on both the aspects, and it's a primary study, and I would be working upon that. So, have you decided a subject? Well, I am thinking very closely about a subject. Okay, what subject are you going to choose then? Sir, I want to bring a fast food chain, let us say Dunkin Donuts, or those kind of things to India. Those days, these products were not in India. So, oh, very well. So, what do you know about donuts, for example? Well, I love donuts. I love to eat donuts. No, what else do you know about donuts? Well, donuts are donuts, of course. Then he said, but that is all? Well, yes, this is enough, because any business can be done. That is where the first lesson came in, and he said, you see, either you develop a connection with the product more than just the taste, and you like the taste. So, do not think in terms of being just a customer, start thinking in terms of being a customer and then backwards, and then towards this end wherein you are the supplier of the raw material. You are the person who knows how to develop these products, cook these products, bake these products. What are the ingredients? You are not an expert chef, but you know the process, and you know how it tastes, what tweaking can be done as far as the tastes go, and how to develop new tastes. It is such a difficult task to develop a new form of donut. For example, you have several donuts in front of you, and yes, I loved, and I tried almost every single product they had in during my study days. So, he said, if you can build a connection this way, then definitely you develop a liking about this, and then you definitely can innovate in terms of whole of the marketing procedure goes, because then only you would be able to position it rightly according to the perspective of the prospective perspective of the customer. Even if you do not go for a structured marketing research, which you should, but then you may do that. And if you can't build a connection with this kind of a thing, find a connection with something you are already associated with. I said, well, I am not associated with more or less anything, because I belong to a family of doctors. He said, well, that is where your connection is. You understand the elements associated with medical profession and provision of health care. This was an important key word given to me by the professor, and that became a sort of a direction. And just to mention, I did my thesis on establishing a large hospital in India with all the primary work which I had to do, including technical feasibility and those kind of things in market feasibility. And I never knew that after a long stint with corporate world, I would be joining academics, wherein I would be doing my PhD research in healthcare provision to the rural and the poor people in India. But that connection wherein I could understand this profession brought this whole thing as far as to fore. And that is the first lesson: build a connection with you, with customers, with product, to enable the complete situation in terms of as far as or let us say removing the dilemma, innovator's dilemma. So, innovator must develop a connection. While you are building this connection, you would definitely be going for strengthening the product on one hand, learning about the customer on the other hand. So, here conviction is coming, and here marketing research is coming, and this is this brings in a process of reflexivity all through. And while you are traversing from this side to that side, the dilemma starts getting reduced. And then comes the most important part. This enablement brings in the most important part, that is, it defines what business we are into. And again, I said I have been talking about this specific line in many of my subjects, what business we are into. If somehow we are able to define this, what business we are into. We are in the business of providing taste to people. We are in the business of satisfying the hunger of people. We are in the business of quenching the thirst of people. We are in the business of generating knowledge for the people. We are in the business of generating jobs for the people. We are in the business of giving style to the people, or giving just cloth based cover to the people's body. What business we are into? We have to look at it with a different kind of a perspective, and that will keep on reducing the dilemma in whole of the situation. I would be I would prefer to quote some examples here. For example, when fusion music was launched, remember those days when there was a huge debate between people who used to love classical music or let us say melody, and this fusion side came in, and you have this rock beats with some old lyrics fused and somehow, and it started working. Was it conviction, or somehow there was a latent need and people tried to understand the market with lots of market research? It was more of a conviction, it worked. Some and then some songs did exceptionally well. I remember many B schools, they wrote this case studies on Cola Very D, and then I mentioned about this in one of my earlier videos in some other subject as well, and then it did well. It did well regardless of the language. There were many songs which did exceptionally well, and I remember some bands came up, and many big decorated wonderful singers, they came up with this kind of an option, and it worked. It changed music industry for almost forever. So it or should I say widened the horizons of music industry as far as the whole situation goes. We were talking about IPL in the earlier phases, and that is how it widened the sports perspective. We were talking about OTT platforms, we have been talking about those, but here one very important thing which my team recommended in discussions, and few of the slides they worked upon this morning about this subject, was that how Netflix used AI as far as making it more comfortable for the customers to choose their movie options. That is an important feature which Netflix has. Somehow I have personally realized, and then I almost agree with the kind of intelligence they are using, but many a times I try to play with that, as far as that if somehow I try to bypass whatever they would prompt me for. So I choose varied sorts of options for me. Many times I try to go beyond their algorithm, but for example, I am watching war movies continuously, they keep on prompting me towards similar kinds of examples and similar kinds of options and movies. Then suddenly I change track and go for religious movies, suddenly I change track and go for different kinds of movies, and then they say that let Netflix surprise you on that. So in the meantime, their AI keeps on working on what combination would I be choosing, and for example, they even go to the length of thinking in terms of artists and those kind of things, and their algorithm is wide in terms of using these kind of elements and habits of a viewer. But at the end of the day, somehow it matches, and even if it does not matches, it somehow gives me an option where I stay. That is where their victory is, that is where the intelligence is. Even if that option somehow is not associated with whatever I wanted, but I stay there, and I stay with Netflix, and I open up an option, start watching that, and I would be there until unless I finish that. That is the innovation perspective which Netflix has chosen in terms of AI for taking viewers there. Drones, for example, drone industry has dwelled upon different kinds of usage for almost all sorts of customers whosoever can come to the fray. And the usage in terms of drones is ever evolving now. It was a very limited kind of an option which drone industry had in terms of what kind of customers they would be catering to, but today everywhere they are required, everywhere, starting from spraying fertilizers to carrying things to doing do something else and so on. So that kind of large application based kind of a development in this particular industry has taken us towards this kind of a thought process, that innovators did come out of that dilemma, and somehow they resolved that what business they are into. And once people answer this particular kind of a question, what business we are into, then almost we have reached to a stage wherein dilemma is resolved at this. Sometimes I wonder about what can be done about buttons and stitches. Whenever some of my buttons of shirts they come off, do we have some option of not stitching them back and still having buttons? I was thinking about this morning. I was wearing a kurta and that button got loosened up, and then I had to go through this process of stitching that once again. And then although I love it, but it is a time taking process. So, and then you have to find your glasses, and then have to go through the process and so on. But again, can we do something about this? So that again is a question. But these kind of a questions somehow take us towards newer products and newer innovation cycles as well. I always wonder that if electric vehicles, we would have resolved the problem of the value chain of automotives, then electric vehicles would have been launched long back. Because to me, to my understanding, the bigger resistance is from the side of the innovators themselves at this moment. They imagine that whole of the value chain through which they have been deriving value at every stage would vanish more or less. You see, lesser parts and lesser value points, if I am not wrong that way, and then lesser requirement of maintenance and services except for few parts. So that definitely is a very big question, because once you will look into this complete value chain, you would realize that there are millions of manufacturers and producers associated with one kind of an automotive, or if you will look at the complete automotive industry and you start counting upon what kind of manufacturers are associated with this industry, leave aside service providers, you would realize that number is huge. So many people would vanish, they definitely would be going for another kind of a business, but deriving value, so much of cumulative value, would it be replaced by the value we would be deriving from EV? This is a problem which innovators have to think about, but again they have to redefine what business we are into, and then they have to revisit that marketing definition serving society at large, and then they have to think in terms of market opportunity development and market development as such. Otherwise it would be a compliance story. It would be a usual regular adaptation process through negotiations and government policies and so on, but probably by that time we would have moved from this place to that place in due course of time, as far as some substitution and alternatives would have already come. I do not know what would happen, because public commuting might be more adaptable as far as the whole scenario goes. So this is more or less an innovator's problem rather than as far as a substitution problem, or for that matter a commuting situation which we have to go through in terms of as far as the EVs go. So, and then there are several elements, and this is just loud thinking. Can we have AI for different kinds of understanding different kinds of needs of people before they express that need, as Netflix is trying to take us towards what we desire to watch? Can we, because we have lots of data about people through social media, we have lots of data about everything, and we use AI almost everywhere, and we use AI for projecting that this you might need, this is the specific need you should be having at this moment. But can we presume that this is the real need people would have at the end of the day. So, can we presume that can we have some need in terms of comforting people as far as their thoughts go? For example, if one of my team members, he or she is going through a particular kind of a phase as far as the thought process goes, and AI is tracking that team member, and I imagine that this is somehow they are going through, and suddenly AI tells me, or AI itself calls the team member that this is the time for you to relax and say goodbye to your teacher for 1 or 2 days, that will ease you out. Can we do that? Can we do this to make this world a better place? If we can, then definitely we are moving ahead in terms of as far as innovation in marketing and marketing of innovation as such. I will be seeing you back with the answer to this question of how, as I mentioned right now, and then go to market strategy, both alongside each other. Till then, goodbye.